this video, I want to give you 5 tips for how to foster emotional intimacy in a relationship. I'm Anna Yudin. I'm a doctor of clinical psychology and a fiction author. Check out my book in the description box if you haven't already, and let's get into it. The first step in developing emotional intimacy is, first of all, you have to determine whether you trust this person. The Stoic figure Seneca said that you have to choose your friends very wisely. You cannot treat everybody like they are a friend because you don't know if they're trustworthy yet. Be selective, vet people, and once you have decided that somebody is trustworthy enough to be your friend, then truly give that person full transparency. You will never fully be able to trust people if you are just picking them indiscriminately to be in your life. You need to know within yourself that by nature of being somebody that you've chosen to be in your life, this person is trustworthy enough to become emotionally intimate with. Without trust, it's going to be very hard to foster intimacy because intimacy requires vulnerability, which requires trust. I would liken this to almost like a relationship with a cat versus a relationship with a dog. Dogs are, for the most part, friends with everyone. They like everyone indiscriminately. Cats, not so much. You gotta kind of earn their trust in order for them to feel like they can be around you. But once you've gained a cat's trust, you truly know that you earned it. And that, for me, makes me feel a lot closer to cats. I've made no secret about the fact that I'm a cat person. That's not to say I don't like dogs as well. It's just I like that aspect of having cats, that you know that you've truly earned their trust and that the affection between the two of you is not just based on a whim, that it's based on actual evidence. So in this situation, try to be more like a cat than like a dog. This will set you up for the second step to developing intimacy, which is be vulnerable. Being vulnerable means telling people things that are a little bit less than favorable about you. Sometimes telling them things that could be embarrassing or shameful or personal or deep. You understand how you need to have that foundation of trust before you can be vulnerable. Once you are vulnerable, it gives the other person a chance to prove that their trust is earned. Without vulnerability, the two of you are kind of like two objects that are so far away that, yeah, you never brush up against each other with any sort of conflict, but you also never get any closer. You're just always going to be parallel or even moving in different directions. With vulnerability, you're like two objects that are kind of swirling around each other, that are constantly coming into contact. You do have a chance to bump into each other, but you're a lot closer. Now, a big part of vulnerability is you have to express your needs. And this is scary because it can feel like it opens us up to the possibility of our needs being rejected, the other person saying, no, I can't meet this for you, or even our needs being ridiculed, the other person saying, this is a stupid need, I shouldn't have to meet this need. I see this a lot with women who are afraid to express their desire for a committed monogamous relationship with a man because they worry that it's going to come off as being too interested or that they're going to be rejected, that he's suddenly going to run away. If you never express your needs, you don't give the other person a chance to meet them. Now, if you express your needs and they aren't able to meet them, of course, that's going to push the two of you further away. But wouldn't you rather know that you were headed in that direction anyway, rather than being stuck in a limbo indefinitely and wasting your time? Expressing your needs is crucial to vulnerability. It allows the other person to truly see you. Wow, this person trusts me enough to be vulnerable by expressing a need. So for example, me and my husband were really just doing like an inventory of our relationship. I think it's very healthy to check in with each other about what could be improved, what's working well. And one of the things that both of us talked about was wanting a little bit better work-life balance, because both of us have been working a little bit more than a 9 to 5, a little bit more than we should. And if we hadn't sat down and had that conversation, our relationship would be the worse for it. We need to express what our needs are, what we could be doing better in order to progress the relationship. And this is actually where the sponsor of today's video, Akiflow, comes in. Akiflow is a time blocking platform that allows you to effortlessly consolidate all of your tools and apps in one place and to block off time in your calendar. Let me show you how my week looks just as an example. Yesterday, I completed all my tasks. As you can see, you can have either a task in your schedule, or you can have a slot, or you can have an event. And I like to color code things when possible. So for instance, you'll see that all my meals are in green, random little errands are in blue. So you can either open up a slot and write the tasks in here. So I'm gonna add in here pretend task just to show you. Or you can add it here on the side, pretend task, and then you can drag it into the slot. You can also label things based on project, or you can prioritize things. So for instance, let's say that recording 2 YouTube videos is my priority today, which it is. Then I would mark it and it automatically is set as the goal for today. And then I have random little annoying business errands that I have to run that I have here in the to-do list. So I'm gonna make sure that I do those on Wednesday morning in my business busy work slot. So for instance, just really helps me feel more organized and less brain scrambly. I love to use that phrase because I really have a sense of what slot every small task falls into and where it falls in my larger schedule for the week. You can also set a full day event like Independence Day. I haven't decided what I'm going to do that day yet, so that's why it's empty. There's also a command bar where you can, from anywhere in your computer using a personalized keyboard shortcut, decide what to add to your schedule. There are notification features that let you know about the next task that's about to start. One-on-one productivity coaching is available, and you also get an onboarding call when you sign up. You can link all of your integrations in one spot, and there's also the rituals button where you can see what you did yesterday and what you have on the schedule today. Akiflow allows you to prioritize certain tasks, to keep the most important at the forefront of your day, and to feel like everything is organized in your schedule. It can be really beneficial for productivity and really helpful in combating procrastination and time management difficulties. So definitely check it out using the link below. Now, tip number 4 to get you to be more emotionally intimate with somebody else: work through conflict. I used to be a little bit squeamish around conflict because I thought that it meant that a relationship was less than ideal. And I've really changed in my perspective on that because nowadays I think conflict should bring you closer. We're all going to have ruptures in our relationships, whether or not we like it. What's important is how we repair those ruptures, not that we never have them. Avoiding conflict at all costs stalls intimacy because it doesn't allow you to express needs that aren't met, and it also builds resentment. For example, a few months ago I told a friend of mine about something that wasn't quite working for me, and we got closer as a result of me stating that rather than further apart. If I hadn't said anything, we would have drifted further away, building up that resentment. Now, here's the thing. By conflict, I do not mean fighting. I know there are people out there that say, oh, if you and your partner or friend never fight, then that's a red flag. You know what? That's a whole bunch of copium. I'm sorry, that is a cope. Fighting does not equal conflict. You can have constructive, respectful conflict that does not look like fighting. So if by fighting you mean conflict, great, I don't disagree. If by fighting you mean actual fighting, then could not disagree more. Now, how do you work through conflict? Honestly, I have a whole sub-chapter in the connection course for this alone because it is way too big of a topic to cover in a YouTube video. So if you're interested in more on that, check out the connection course. Tip number 5. Practice radical acceptance of the other person, including of their shadows. I think a large part of why people give up on relationships so easily these days, whether it's through divorce or through quiet quitting friendships, is that they expect these relationships to be ideal. And when they realize that a relationship or a person is not ideal, that that person is not perfect, that there are problems in the relationship, hurdles to be surmounted, people think, oh well, there's going to be something perfect for me out there, so I'm just going to step aside from this person. You keep expecting for that perfect person to come around, and when you learn that that perfect person isn't so perfect, you just keep moving on to the next one, and the next one, and the next one. A trusting relationship, an intimate relationship, honors the totality of the other person. Not just the persona that they put on, but also who they are in their shadow as well. The opposite of who they portray themselves to be. You don't just love the other person because they're kind. You also love the part of them that can sometimes be mean. This might sound a little bit extreme to you, but honestly, I do have a couple of relationships where this is the case. There's nothing like it. There is no acceptance and trust like in those relationships. I have one friend in particular that I'm thinking of who, no matter how dark and vulnerable her shadow self might be, I will never respond to her by shaming her, by criticizing, by saying, oh my God, no, you shouldn't do that. That's bad. That's immoral. I don't judge her darkest moments. She doesn't judge my darkest moments. We accept each other fully. These are very rare. These types of friendships are very rare. They require a huge amount of trust. You have to have a ton of acceptance and compassion. Again, not just for that person's light side, for their persona, but also for their dark side, for their shadow. Sometimes me and my husband literally do shadow work together. Like the other day we were doing co-shadow work. We were talking about somebody that triggers both of us, and I posed the question of, why do you think this person triggers you so much? Because I know for me, this person brushes up on this aspect of my shadow self. Is it possible that they're brushing up on this aspect of your shadow self? And we had a really rich discussion about it that brought us a lot closer, that fostered emotional intimacy. You can't get at that level of depth unless you accept the totality of a person. Again, the light and the dark, the parts that they try to suppress also. So honestly, if you want to get to that incredibly deep emotional intimacy, you must fully accept the other person. You cannot be morally self-righteous and judge them about their decisions. You have to fully accept them as they are. Not a lot of people can do that, unfortunately. To sum it up, 5 tips for fostering emotional intimacy in a relationship. Number 1, determine whether you trust this person. Number 2, once you've determined that they're trustworthy, be vulnerable with them. Number 3, one way to be vulnerable with them is by expressing your needs. Number 4, if you express your needs, you can work through conflict to get you closer than you were before. And number 5, you have to practice radical acceptance of the totality of the other person. And they too have to reciprocate. This can't be like one person fully accepts the other and the other one only accepts their persona. No, it has to be bi-directional. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you again to Akiflow for sponsoring a portion of today's video. Check them out below if you want to try out Akiflow, and I will see you soon.